What's going on? This is Brett Fick with Fick Fitness, and thanks for joining me for our podcast today. I want to introduce you guys to Robert. Robert and I are both part of a coaching fitness community all around the country and around the world, and both of us are very into helping people through podcast and just giving you guys a lot of value to chew on. So, Robert, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, my name is Robert. I am an online coach. My main focus is personal development and fitness. I'm one of the few people that brought both industries together. I work mostly with what I call high level women. My purpose in life is to help women achieve their desired lives and heal their pains through fitness, nutrition, human behavior, changing belief systems, and just overall all those things that hold us back, when we're trying to improve the quality of our lives. So that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely in the same boat. You work more with women, I work more with men. I think that's a good yin and yang balance here on this podcast. But yeah, today our topic we're going to talk about embracing failure and turning setbacks into success in not only fitness but business and in life. So, just wanted to first start off by asking you, in your life, what's a personal story where you've had some failure and you've had, the ability to get up off your failures, get back on your feet and get to where you are now? Because obviously, Robert, you're a pretty successful guy and you help a lot of people.
Well, I gotta say, it's not just one thing. I think from the time that I turned 21 till pretty much 28, my life was ups and downs. It was, that try and error, like multiple businesses. My background also comes from marketing, graphic design, and general management. So along the time I was doing fitness, bodybuilding, and everything. But I think the most important one was when I moved to California, like I was telling you before. So my dream was to become a professional bodybuilder. So I moved to California to train at Gold's Gym Venice, be around some of the
Nice.
best trainers in the world. And it was a little bit of a struggle. You know how life in California is expensive. So I had three jobs, plus I was going to UCLA, plus I was training, but I was happy doing my thing. Year and a half into 2 years in, I was doing my thing. I was living in Venice, a block from Goals. I was training with really good athletes. I was making good relationships. Money was coming in. It was good. And then COVID happens, and everything shut down. So I'm from
Yeah, that was
Mexico, and so
brutal.
I spoke to my family. We're like, yeah, I was like, guys, I think I'm gonna come home just for a bit while these things like settle, because I thought it was just a transitional thing, right? So I flew home just to be around the family, and just like maybe I have a few friends that own gyms, so I can still be training there. And a week turned into 2 weeks, into 3 weeks, into 4 weeks, and I was like, I have no income. I can't be paying rent in LA, keeping my apartment, and my car payment and everything else. So I said, like, my family, like, hey, I think I'm gonna stay, guys, because we don't know what's going on. Family business was shut down too. We were just like everybody, just like holding on to what was gonna happen there. So I had to start my life all over, and pretty much what my dream was of being in LA at Golds and everything was ripped apart out of nothing. I didn't even have a chance to like say goodbye or like finish my circle. It's just like one day your life is just completely different, which led me into actually not training for like a year and a half, going into a different lifestyle. My family, they are horse trainers for horse shows. So I went to them. I was working around that. I love that country life too, but that led into, the smoking every day, the drinking,
Oh
sorry,
yeah.
the waking up and having a cup of coffee and a cigarette. Um,
I've
so
been through those days.
I ended up at the hospital. Sorry?
I've definitely been through those days where, you're just finding yourself doing all the wrong things when you know it's wrong, and
Yeah.
your mind's telling you and your heart's telling you, but your body's not listening.
I ended up on a hospital bed with COVID, That was my wake up call. And you know how they have you in quarantine, so I stood there for like a week, and I really had to ask myself, what are you doing? This is not you. You know, this is not the lifestyle that you've been doing for a long time. You're out of shape. You're drinking. I wasn't getting drunk, but I was still drinking pretty oftenly. I was smoking a pack and a half a day, and I had to like restart my life again. So I went back into training and everything. But that's something that really, it was a hard thing to go through, especially the fact of having your dream shut down out of nowhere. It took me a lot of time to recover from that and detach from, you know, what I had in LA.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Gold's Gym. That's actually where I got my foundation for working out. I was 17 years old. I was about to transfer from actually, no, I was 19 years old. I was about to transfer from a junior college playing baseball, and I was going to UC Santa Barbara. And my uncle at the time was a major league baseball
Mm.
player, and he was training there every morning. And we get up at like 5:30 in the morning. And for me, a 19-year-old kid who smokes pot and drinks all the time and has never had his shit together. I mean, my whole life, I pretty much was just a loose cannon, and I finally had to have someone discipline me and say, hey, you're not going to drink, you're not going to smoke, you're going to get up every morning early, you're going to start working out 2 hours a day with the craziest people you've ever worked out with. I mean, I'll never forget my first leg day when I went into this pro camp with TR Goodman, and I was doing leg extension, and I was like, yeah, how many are we doing? Like six, seven? He's like, 25. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, 4 sets of it. I'm like, wait, this is the first thing we're doing? I couldn't even get through 3 sets. I was like dying. And, but I remember looking back like 25, 30, 40, 50 days, something like that later. And I went from like 158 to like 189, just jacked. And I remember walking into
Mm.
rooms and people were like, holy shit, you look like a superhuman. That was the first time in my life I really got to experience like progress through discipline. I think that's one thing that, you know, you can't achieve until you've actually felt how bad and how hard failure is on you. Like that feeling of waking up so hungover the next day, or like smoking a cigarette, having a cup of coffee just to be able to survive in the world and like function as a normal human being. Like there's certain levels to this game. You can operate like as that person who's like, hey, this is my life. I accept that shitty part of my life. Or you're guys like you and I who go, I actually refuse to make that choice anymore. I'm no longer going to accept failing on all fronts, whether it's health, it's fitness, it's, mentality, it's relationships, whatever it is. I'm sure your story's pretty similar to mine. I mean, burning through relationships and, you know, just
Yeah.
burning bridges down constantly. And, people have come across my life. I told a story the other day, actually. A friend of mine sent me a video. It was me, and I'm not going to say the name, but me and a famous country singer who I used to be very good friends with in Nashville. My friend sent me a,
Mhm.
a video of us on a boat, and it was 4th of July weekend, and we were like freestyling, like rapping together, and it was like, midnight, 1 in the morning, something like that. We're all feeling good, and like good, good friend of mine, and I completely burned the bridge from being a drunk and a drug addict. Just probably till this day, we would have been really good friends, but I just could not until I decided to make those choices and to stop failing. Like I was choosing to fail. I was drinking my life away. I was, doing cocaine. I was taking Molly and ecstasy, like whatever I can get my hands on. It was just so stupid now that I look back on it. I wasted so much time and energy. Like those are the two assets you can never get back, right? Forget the money, forget the success and all that. It's the time and energy. If you have a family, or if you're a bazillionaire on your deathbed, like everyone is in the same boat. They're like, I wish I had more time.
That's definitely, but it's important to go, I think, through those experiences as well, because that's why we're able to help others with what we do. Because we needed to go through those pains, through those struggles, and overcome them so we can tell someone, like, hey, I know it is hard. I know that you don't feel like doing it. I know that you feel like your life is lost, but you need to lead by example, right? And I think that God's purpose is always that, like we go through situations so we can then help others through our own experiences, but most definitely. And it's interesting how when you're in those circles, right, at the parties, and there are the drugs around, and you really sit down and you listen to the people, and there's people that just lack purpose and direction, because everybody knows that what we're doing is not okay. We might pretend it's all cool and whatever we're feeling with the rush of the drinking or the drugs, but unconsciously everybody knows like this is not okay, and everybody wants to be having that higher level life, but you can feel so lost at some point that you're just like escaping and escaping and escaping through that, right?
Couldn't agree with you more. You totally hit it on the head when you said that everybody's seeking a purpose. It's it's one of the things that I communicate a lot with the people I work with in the fitness community. Um, and it's also one of the reasons why I understand people act a certain way. Like when I see people on the news doing all this crazy stuff and like, like for example, those encampments people are putting themselves in right now, like Palestine or Israel or whatever it is they're doing. I don't really stay close with it, but here's one thing I can tell you about every single person in those camps. That is their purpose. Some people aren't built like you and I, like when we're talking about being pro bodybuilders and professional baseball players in our lives and stuff, like we're probably closer to the one percenters of the world. Imagine being one of the 99
Hmm.
percenters and you just have nothing going for you in life. And just like, you feel like, God, why did you put me on this planet like this? I'm fat. I'm out of shape. I'm not good looking. I'm not whatever it is. Right. Like, so I always feel I have empathy for certain people. And Justin Bieber actually had a great quote on this. He created an album called Purpose, and he went on the Purpose tour. Um, but yeah, it changed my life when I was like listening to his songs and stuff. But he said, let me find this quote here. Give me a second. If you want to talk on that, you can. But
No, it's especially when we talk about males, right? Whenever the male doesn't have a purpose, that's when depression and anxiety shows. Like, it is actually proven by one study that happened, I think, after World War II in Europe, where there was a group of soldiers that had PTSD, and they were in like this like hospital bed with like mental health issues, and for some reason there was a need for a group of people to bring supplies or something. They needed to like take action right away. Well, they got their stuff together, they got their shit together, and they went, and no PTSD and no nothing, because they were out of purpose. So everything goes out when you're on purpose. No depression, no anxiety. You're aligned. And especially for the male, you need to be, like Tony Robbins said, like progress equals happiness. If you're not constantly growing, if you're not constantly on the program, if you're not constantly like evolving, that's when it's really easy to go to the other side. It's really easy to try to mitigate what you're feeling with alcohol. And because there's a vast majority of people out there that feel the same way, well, you're going to think that you're having a lot of friends. But are they?
yeah, I don't know.
You know,
I don't think
like,
they are. They're not. I found this quote, by the way. I just wanted to read this real quick before I get off topic here. So Justin Bieber said, the
yeah.
reason I named it Purpose was because for a while there, I feel like I lost my purpose and I feel like I found my purpose again. Maybe that message is to say that no matter how far you feel like you are away from yourself, or you feel like you don't have your purpose, or you don't know what your purpose is, or you feel like maybe even you lost your purpose, there's always room to find that purpose again. I love that quote.
Well, that's the principle of polarity, right? And life is built that way. In order for you to know what love is, you got to experience
Mm-hmm.
like true pain. in order for you to really find yourself and your purpose, well, you pretty much are going to have to go through some struggles and feel completely lost, so you can rebuild yourself and go through situations that are going to bring that out
Yeah,
of you.
failure is kind of like
Because
the BCAAs of muscle building, right? Failure is the building blocks
yeah,
of success. Right? You can't get to where you're going to be on the end goal without having some stumbles across the way. There's no such thing, that's why charts on the stock market go up and down. That's why we have bull markets and bear markets, right? Everything in this life that God has built, the whole world ebbs and flows. Tides come in, tides go out. This is how our world operates. So if you can't bear the bottom and also humble yourself at the top, you're going to have a pretty wide range of emotions in your life. People that stay even keeled typically find more success because when they make the $1 million, let's say, they're not just going to go blow all that money or celebrate right away. They're going to focus on making the next million. Let's talk about fitness in terms of
yes, sir.
failing in fitness. Three main things that I see here: missing workout goals, injuries and setbacks, and plateaus in progress, right? So what are some of the things that you see with your clientele that you work with?
In regards to failing with their fitness journey, I think, and that's something that I'm really trying to preach right now, is that they think that they are going to feel a certain way once they get the
Mm-hmm.
physique, because they think that the physique equals the happiness, which not. It is the process of building the physique, the discipline, and the habits that is going to allow you to build a personality. And a lot of times you see this happen with people. They'll go into a fat loss process, they'll drop the weight, but they keep feeling the same way because they haven't worked the emotional part. So they go there and they find that there's still emptiness. So they go back to what they know, because they just give up. Like, well, I did all this work, still feel the same. My life hasn't really changed. I just dropped like 10 pounds. So they go overweight again. So they are not guided properly in regards to, hey, this is about investing in yourself, building yourself up, healing the relationship with yourself, and your body is a reflection of what you think about yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree
I
with that,
think that's
man. People
mainly.
are so hard on themselves so early on in the process, and I'm just thinking, you guys got to think long term here. It's one day at a time. That's what I love about my sobriety journey, going to AA and stuff. The first thing I saw when I looked up in this room was, hey, one day at a time. And, it relaxes you mentally. You're like, hey, shit, man, I'm here. I'm doing something. But same with the gym. I wish the gyms would put signs up there that say, like, hey, your journey's starting now. It's going to be a long one. You're probably not going to be like that other guy for a few years, right? And it's going to take a lot of consistency and dedication and hard work. I feel like loss of motivation and staying consistent are two major problems for people entering the fitness world. We have this pandemic of social media going on where all these influencers are posting their, bodies on Instagram and Facebook and all these places. And I'm one of them. You're one of them. But we're more realistic people, right? And you see women on Ozempic and they're like, I have never worked out. I'm like, what? Like that's a false, you know, that's a false dream for a lot of women to look like some of these women without the cosmetic surgeries, the drugs they're taking, the dietitians. Like, I mean, some of these people that are really rich, they have private chefs that cook every meal for them. They have every piece of food going in their body. That someone's counting the calories for them. If you're a normal person like you and I, hiring a coach like us to hold you accountable, I don't know, 300, 500, 1,000. I mean, what is it worth to say you're healthy again, to feel healthy, to look healthy? Um,
And save all the struggles from all the mistakes that we've done over the years. Because what builds a really good coach, and I think you can agree with this, you don't learn how to be a coach out of a book. You coach people through your failures and your mistakes, which is what we were talking about. And you just help people get to the destination faster and avoiding the mistakes, you know? So that's big. And what you were saying about the social media world, I think if you were, especially if you're in California, and like the gym that I was back home also in Mexico, where there was a lot of like female influencers, fitness, they just know how to take really good pictures
Yeah.
sometimes, bro. Because you see them in real life, and it's like, and also the energy that they put in the social media versus what you see in the real world is two different, completely people. You know, it's like it's not
Okay, let
real.
me comment on that. So I went to a party yesterday for 4th of July. It was a pool party. Now, bear in mind, I don't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
I've been sober almost 5 years, and I go to these parties usually, and my body compared to most, I would say, I'm not going to say I'm always the best in shape guy or anything like that, but usually
Yeah.
I am pretty close to being one of the more in shape people. And I see some of these
Hmm.
women and men, surprisingly, now it's kind of weird. I'll talk a little more about this, but mainly women. And they'll be like, "Oh, add me on Instagram or something." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I look up their Instagram and I'm like looking, double taking. I'm like, "Is this the same person I'm talking to right now?" Like, how do you make
Yeah.
yourself look so different on social media? I'm like, it's such a farce. And I feel bad because there's all these cut guys out there who are just like drooling at the mouth over these women and giving them their attention. You ever heard the statement, attention is their oxygen, validation is their currency, and
Hmm.
accountability is their kryptonite? I mean, it's become so real nowadays with a lot of these women because they're so good at manipulating what they look like on social media that most people that are interacting with these people through their DMs and stuff, like, they probably don't even know who they're really talking to a lot of the time with the makeup and the plastic surgery and the angles and the lighting and the cameras. Like, plus these apps. I follow this guy online who calls all these women out. He's like, "Look, see the walls bending? That means they used an app to make their butt bigger or something." I'm
Yeah.
like, why the fuck do you even need to do that, man? What are we doing here? Like, what makes you really want to lie to someone online to make your appearance look that much better? Like, and you got to blame these magazines from back in the day. Like, remember the 90s? Like, they're editing all these women on the covers
Yeah.
of magazines and stuff. It's crazy to think in 2024 you can do that from the palm of your hand in your own phone. You have a supercomputer with editing apps like CapCut and all these different things that you can just alter, Canva and
Hmm.
all these different apps that you can alter anything, and you even use filters or AI. AI is crazy. It made me
Yeah.
look like a superhero, and I'm not kidding you. I don't even look like this guy I posted, but like people were messaging me like, "Oh man, that's totally you." Blah blah. I'm like, no, this is a false image of what I really look
Yeah.
like. I'm not a superhero. That people, it's almost like they're addicted to engaging with it, like they love it.
Well, there's two things to that. Like one, there's the side of the person who is posting the content, right? And they're so insecure about themselves in real life that they need to build this platform where they get validated, and that's the world. And they get anxious if they don't get a certain number of likes, comments, or if they start losing followers. Like you and me, we're like, we don't care about that. We're actually building businesses through social media, so we have different like um, performance indicators that actually matter to us. You know how many followers, with how many people we're talking to and helping.
Yeah.
That's the main goal. And also is the other side of the people that are not the content creators that are watching the content. They need to have that huge gap of separation with these influencers of people so they can validate more why is it that they're not feeling the same way, or getting the same results, because they want to validate that it's crazy impossible. And I always say there's no special people in the world. Yeah, sure, there's people that are more gifted genetic wise, but what really comes down to is mindset and habits. I'm not like the most genetically gifted guy in the world. Like if I need to like keep my calories low most of the time, because my genetics are like I put body fat really easy. So I need to take care of myself. But over time, it just becomes easier. But I put it out there. It's not like I was born like this. This is like 12 years in the gym, you
Yeah,
know?
I went on a little bit of a carb cycle of recent. I was dealing with insulin resistance for a while, so I stopped eating carbs pretty much altogether and went like, the lowest carb I could go for my body to function. And I just recently started to get back into eating more carbs, like sweet potatoes and whole grain pasta and stuff like that. But um, I noticed like my body, when I start eating carbs again, my body will store belly fat so fast. And because I used to be fat, I lost 50 pounds, a little under 4 years ago. I just decided in the last, I'd say 2 years to go really hardcore with my health and fitness. That's why I joined the JWX community, and I had a story to tell, and a lot of people wanted to know how I went about doing it and what, but my body is not the same as their body. So, you know, I find that when you become very successful in something like losing weight, and you've gone down that road, and you've like watched yourself over time like progress, you're almost destined to like have either a plateau or even a setback. Like I met a guy the other day who was like, looking at his pictures, he was like showing me how jacked he used to be. And then I looked at him, I was like, what happened, man? He's like, oh, I got injured or I did something. And I'm like, it's always an excuse. But like there's that endless cycle for some people of success, fall back, success, fall back, success, fall back. And I think that's what keeps a ceiling above some people, is that they break through the fear of failure. They succeed with something, and then they instantly like want to feel like that gratification, and then they get complacent, and then they just fall right back into the old habits that they already had built. um
Hmm.
I think there's a fear of people becoming too successful, of becoming, you know too different of a person than they're used to seeing themselves as. Like they just want to stay in that cocoon that they've always been in, instead of morphing into the butterfly and going to new heights.
There's two things about that. There's first the theory of the thermostat, right? Like if you are a 80-degree person, you can raise your temperature to 100, but at some point you're gonna come down to 80 again, which is what you're saying about most of these people. The only two ways to become a 100-degree person is by surrounding yourself with 100-degree people. So you start operating their energy, and that's your new environment. So it becomes normal. On the other side is just having habits and a mindset with a purpose that keeps you aligned all the time. But the thing is, we as humans are built to one, stay in homeostasis and be comfortable. That's how the brain works. We're not meant to be uncomfortable, and sticking to a diet or a training or regimen or just being low body fat, it's not the normality of the outside world. Because if everybody was walking around shredded, shirtless, well, that will be the normal. Well, it's not. And everywhere you go is programmed in a way that you don't do that. Like how many like healthy foods you see on a regular basis compared to like fast food restaurants.
Yeah, you don't
You
see
know what
them
I
at
mean?
all. I mean, you look at the grocery store, the outside aisles are the only healthy ones. Everything else in between is, processed or stored food.
Yeah. So it's those two sides. So it's important when you are gonna go through this journey. Like I try to reinforce, is not about the destination. It's about becoming your best self, so you can be proud. And I think one of the biggest issues, bro, is we are so out of touch with mortality that we think that we can just like start over all the time, and that we're gonna live forever, and that it's okay when it's really not. And unless you like experience certain things, you're like, oh, well, like I better like start being grateful just for waking up and having the ability to
Well,
work
I
on
call it the shell
myself.
shock. Like for me, it was, I had a seizure giving blood. I passed out and had a vasovagal seizure, and my blood sugar was like almost fatal levels. It dropped so low because I was eating so many carbs and simple carbs and sugars, to keep my blood sugar elevated, because it was falling rapidly because of insulin resistance. And I didn't even know anything about diets, about blood sugar. I was like, I figured, shit, these bodybuilders are eating 300 grams of white rice a day. Why can't I? Little do I know, a lot of these guys are on metformin and taking berberine supplements and all these different things to keep their blood sugar and A1C levels down. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, waking up in the middle of the night craving a half a pack of Oreos because I'm about to die of low blood sugar. It's like, yeah, that was a big eye opener for me. I was like, whoa, went to the hospital. They're like, hey man, you're pre-diabetic. Like, you got to get all these things under control. Part of the reason I was getting a lot of belly fat, right, is because my body was trying to store as much of that sugar as possible, right, in my subcutaneous fat, visceral fat. But yeah, that was a wake up call for me, man. Until you have that shell shock, you're not going to educate yourself, or you're not going to take something serious. Like, and in the franchise world, I sell franchises as well. That's my day gig. But we typically say that the people who have the most to lose take the most action, right? So the people that buy a business that are barely putting the funds together to get that business, they're the ones that are like, hey, we have to make it work. It's the same with our bodies. If someone is dying of cancer, let's say, all of a sudden they're, a cancer expert. They know everything they need to know about cancer and their specific cancer, how to get rid of everything. So urgency, that's the word I'm looking for here. Urgency. When you create urgency, and part of creating urgency is failing, right? When you fail at something, you're like, oh shit, I better figure this out, or I better find a way not to fail again, right? And that fear of failure is really strong with a lot of people, because once you experience the failure, that fear is actually created within your own mind, right? Like the first time you rode a bike and you fell over and scraped your knee, you're like, damn, that hurt really bad. I'm afraid to fall over again. And you're like, well, they don't tell you they tell you the fear of failure, but they don't tell you about the joy of success. I find the joy of success to be far greater than the fear of failure. Like, I'll give you an example. When I was a little kid, my friends used to go bodyboarding, and I almost drowned when I was a kid in the ocean. So I had this predetermined fear of the ocean because I had swallowed so much salt water as a little kid. I was in a Carpinteria Beach as a kid, that like the lifeguards pretty much had to pull me out of the water. Like, I was like really, really close to dying. And so I was at this big beach, and the waves were like 10, 15 feet. It was so terrifying just hearing these waves clap against the water. It was like something hitting cement, it was heavy, heavy, thick, cold water. And my friends were all paddling out, and I'm like shaking as I'm paddling out into the water. And I'm so scared to take off on a wave because I'm deathly afraid of drowning. Like, all these memories kept just coming back to me. And finally, one of my friends is like, hey man, listen, all of us are here. We will all look after you and make sure you're okay. I promise you'll be fine. Just have faith that you're in good hands with us, and we're all looking out for you. Just go. And I took off on this wave, and I'll never forget looking up and seeing this massive wall of water and just going, holy shit, I'm going to die. Like, peak scared. And I ended up getting taken under. I'm rolling around everywhere like a laundry machine, And my friend said, when you get taken under, just relax your body and let it just go with the flow. Let it take you. Don't fight the current. Don't fight the resistance. And so and he's like, you'll know when to come up to the surface. So I'm holding my breath, and I feel the boards being tugged everywhere around me. The things around my wrist, it's pulling me left and right. I'm like, but I'm just letting myself go. And all of a sudden I feel myself floating up to the surface, with the buoyancy, and I swim up, and I take a breath, and I look up, and there's another wave coming at me, and I duck under it, and I start to kind of go into panic mode, like, oh shit, here we go again. And then I jumped on my board and got out and got back out to where my friends were. And, he looked at me, and he's like, wasn't so bad, was it? And I'm like, no, actually it wasn't. It was actually pretty exciting to take off on. I remember the joy of being like, yeah, I fucking did it. Yeah. But I didn't do it because I didn't want to look like that guy who was like, whatever, but I was like inside this feeling of just accomplishment and joy. Like, I felt like I had climbed Mount Everest, man. I was like, yes, I finally conquered that fear, the number one fear I had for so long. I would sit on the beach and watch my friends go because it was just, it would grip me, take over my whole my whole body, like the emotions would physically just shut me down.
Well, it's like a quote that says everything that you want out of life is on the other side of fear. And problem is that we're never really taught what fear is, and where it comes from is nothing but your ego talking, right? The ego operates in that manner where you it's gonna tell you like, hey, don't try it, you're gonna fail, like, and keeps you in that paralysis mode and doesn't allow you to move forward. But like you said two really important words. You had a support system and you have faith. And that's what you need. That's why hiring a coach, it is important, but also building a community, or a close circle of like-minded individuals that, been there, done that, or at least they can hold you. You can feel safe. And the faith part, man, is about the trusting of the life and trusting yourself that it is going to be okay. And if I fail, well, I learned. The faster you fail, the more you're going to learn, the faster you're going to get to the end destination. But we sometimes like retreat from everything, especially as men, right? And I think this is going into deeper conversations of mental health with the male side, where they're just so afraid of making changes and everything that's going inside. And because we're taught that we are meant to be tough and not to have these emotions and all these things, people are going through real shit, man. Like I have, and actually talking about goals, Jim Ben is like when my ex training partner at goals took his life 3 weeks ago.
Man, that's tough.
Professional
That's tough.
bodybuilder, professional bodybuilder. He was Michael Hearn's training partner as well. He was doing movies. He was successful personal trainer at goals. He was married, you know, amazing guy, crazy ass physique, working around 300 pounds lean year round. They found him on his apartment from an overdose. So you never know what's really going on, and that's why it is important to have these conversations. Like we're talking, like it's okay
Yeah,
not
it's
to be
okay not to be
okay
okay.
if you're
Yep.
a man.
But I want to comment on that too. There's a big difference between feeling bad and being down and staying down, right?
Hmm. Oh yeah.
I wanted to share real quick. We're coming to an end here pretty soon with this one. I'm going to keep these probably under 40 minutes for these podcasts, but I wanted to show
Yeah.
everyone this is my losers to lions. This is going to be my new brand I'm launching here soon. I've got custom fit T-shirts and stuff, but part of what I'm going to do is I'm going to be giving back to the community, and especially for people with men in particular, who have had a really, really tough life, who are maybe in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous or NA, and people that deal with mental health issues. Like I'm pretty much going to give back to the whole community. Most of the profits that I get from this company, other than recreating more product, like
Nice.
I'm going to take most of it just to help other people. Because there is a lot of people in my life through this journey that have given to me so freely, and I haven't really, felt like I've paid it back in full. So I'm always in debt for the lessons that I've learned throughout this
Mhm.
whole journey in my life now. And hearing you talk about someone that took their own life, man, like I was just talking to someone about the golfer Grayson Murray. He took his own life. Rest in peace, Grayson. He was a really good guy and well respected on the PGA Tour. But I used to come across him when I was partying still back in West Palm Beach, like 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago. And I remember when I met him, we were outside of this nightclub called Camelot, and I told him how I basically fucked off my baseball career by being a alcoholic and drug addict, and I was still doing it at the time, but I already had knew that I was basically messing up and ruining everything I could have done. Like God blessed me with this talent to be so good at a sport, and I just basically shit it away, and then when I got sober, I was 31 years old when I finally quit right before COVID, March 8th, 2020. I called it quits with the booze and the drugs. And I went pro. I played for the Savannah Bananas for the first time. First time playing pro ball ever in my life. I remember walking out into the stadium in Savannah at Grayson Stadium, looking up in the crowd and seeing like 4 or 5,000 people sold out, like the most epic feeling any human can experience in their life, knowing that it wasn't too late, and I actually still did it, and I said, I finally got to go play pro ball. My childhood dream was playing in a stadium professionally for people. And I actually just signed to play again on August 24th, which is my birthday, so ironically.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm going to play in
Awesome.
Kalamazoo, Michigan, for a team that's called the Kalamazoo Nut Smugglers. So I just got my hat and a shirt from them in the mail yesterday. But it's going to be like YouTubers and celebrities and ex Major League Baseball players like Jose Canseco, and a few secret players that I can't really talk about yet, but they're going to make probably a guest appearance. Some really big names, and it's going to be fun, man. But this is why I'm doing this kind of stuff. Like, again, I'm going to use that platform when I'm out there to help other men and to help people that are considering, bad things like hurting or harming themselves. I hope whatever that you and I are doing, Robert, we can say one little thing that'll encourage these men not to make a stupid decision like that.
Absolutely. That was the biggest thing, what I before I started doing content, that I learned from Ate My Lit, right? Because it's not easy at the beginning to start doing videos and everything, but it's hard
Yeah.
when you're doing them from your ego or about yourself. Well, once you start thinking about, like, hey, I hope that I say one thing that can help someone, then it becomes easy because you're again on purpose, and that's the whole thing, and then it's endless conversation because you just want to put it out there, and every single little detail that you learn, you just want to put it out there so people can improve their lives, just like we've been helped from other people as well. So I'm really glad that you invited me over. We linked, and it's pretty cool to have this space, and hopefully someone can get
Yeah,
something out
man.
of
And
this.
thank you again for coming on here and being my guest. I feel like this will be episode one of many with us. You know, ro- just so everybody
Yeah,
knows, again, I'll reiterate, Robert and I are both online business, fitness coaches. We help people all over the world. Robert mainly works with women. I mainly work with men. But so if you're a woman out there, you're watching this, Robert, what's your ad on Instagram?
it's at Robert Liceaga, Liceaga, just like under the
Tell us
screen
a little
there.
background of
And yeah,
how long you've been working with clients and stuff, or do you have any certifications or anything like that?
well, I've been coaching for 12 years. I'm certified in nutrition, neurolinguistic program, personal development. I'm running right now with my mentor, growing in transformational coaching. So I bring those two worlds. And I work especially with women because I'm trying to empower them to get out of that nonsense that's going out there and reach back to their feminine energy side, connect, and just, make a difference out there.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and that's the same thing I'm doing with men. I'm trying to help, a lot of these guys with what I call the alpha revival. A lot of these guys maybe grew up and
Yeah.
their dad, taught them something, or, someone in their life taught them about how to actually be a man. And I think gender roles are really important nowadays too. Like some of these women are, claiming, oh, I'm independent woman and, I don't need men or things like that. Like we need to get away from that toxic culture. Let women be women. Let them have their traditional womanhood role and, be the mother raising the children. The husband goes to work. The husband's the masculine man. Like it's okay for women to work out and get muscle and become toned. Yeah, every man's attracted to that now. That's not a bad thing. But in terms of like our personalities and our roles in a family, I guess I'm a believer since I believe in God, I'm a Christian. I believe in the nuclear family. I
Me
think
too.
that's something that I strive for. I'm single. I dated someone for 4 years and unfortunately it didn't work out, but I still seek having that nuclear family. I want the kid. I want the wife. I want to be able to have that connection. And, it's sad, because right now I feel like the dating world has gotten really thrown off with the dating apps and social media. It's just so much
Mm.
going on. It's like hard to focus. Like I almost have this theory that I'm going to go on dates and tell the person, hey, can we not bring our phones? Can we not use phones, ever throughout the dating process in the first few months? Like, can we just keep it just, phone call at a certain time? And, but I doubt that'll work, but we'll see. Maybe I'll find the right one.
It will happen, God willing, he'll send you the
Yeah.
right one. But you're right, and even more than that, it's just when you are polarized as a man or a woman, you are not at your top potential and you're missing on a lot. Biology is there for a reason, human nature is there for a reason. So stop fighting it, but most importantly, stop trying to belong. Work on yourself, just be yourself, and that's okay. That's all you need, to
I
be
agree with you
yourself.
there, my friend. Well, all right. Well, thank you for joining me today on the podcast. And yeah, guys, look out for future episodes with us. If you have any comments about it, type it in the comment box below. And don't forget to make sure you like and subscribe the channel. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys on future episodes with us. Take care.
Amazing. Thank you.